Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and as Doctor Who fans, we often hyperemphasize upon the Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker era of Doctor Who as the end of the show, when the decline began and ended. But we often need to remember the decline began back during the late Stephen Moffat era, during the Capaldi run of Doctor Who. Now, the saving grace of this era was the fact that Peter Capaldi was a phenomenal actor, able to redeem several mediocre scripts, and there were several good scripts hidden amongst the otherwise meh set of series. But a writer for Doctor Who from back in the 80s has come in support of that mentality and said Peter Capaldi deserved better. And that's something that most Doctor Who fans can agree with. He was one of the best actors to ever take on the mantle. He's not my favorite Doctor, but I am pretty confident in saying that he's the best actor to ever take the role. He's the most talented actor to ever play the Doctor. And yes, he definitely deserved more. Rivaled perhaps only by David Tennant, he is a massive fan of classic Doctor Who. He began watching the show as a kid, fan mail. David Tennant was doing a lot of the same stuff, but Peter Capaldi's fan level is next level. It'd be a tough debate between the two of them to see who loved the show more as children. But either way, it's great to have so many doctors who care about the role, and Peter Capaldi's care and love for this franchise cannot be argued by anyone. So 100% he deserved better. But we have this interview here from the Radio Times that talks about this writer from the 80s who said Peter Capaldi's era deserved better stories. And that is 100% what we all have been saying for a very long time now. Now, I still watch the Peter Capaldi era with love and nostalgia even today after the disastrous Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker run on the show, but there are significant issues with it, specifically in season 10. That's when most of it comes to a forefront. That's when the wokeness begins to creep in to a further degree. There's some in it before that, obviously, but that's when it becomes incredibly prevalent. And when I watch season 10, I mainly only watch the last 2 episodes of the season, and then of course Twice Upon a Time ending before Jodie Whittaker shows up. But there are moments of quality even in that series 10. But there's no question, even with the hoops that I have to jump through to enjoy the end of his era, that he deserved better. Now, this writer, Stephen Gallagher, wrote back in the 80s, and he began watching the show as a fan back in the 60s when it initially came out. So he has a lot of respect for Peter Capaldi doing basically the same thing he did, growing up with the show, loving the show, and then getting involved in the show once he achieved manhood. And Stephen Gallagher's specific comments that I want to highlight here just say, I also think his seasons probably needed better stories than he got. I would have done him right, and that would have been beautiful to see a classic writer come back, an active writer, because he's still writing even to this day, Stephen Gallagher. So that would have been great to see a classic writer partner up with Peter Capaldi, because Peter Capaldi is the most classic Doctor of the Doctors out there. He's less the hero like David Tennant and Matt Smith. He's more the rogue that we saw in Classic Who. There is a bit of a distinction there, and he's obviously older, like much of the older classic Doctors were, versus the new Doctors. And it would have been a really cool pairing to see. Now, this interview is rife with some really cool stuff, talking about the early days of Doctor Who, or the end of the classic era, more specifically, and just a lot of interesting stuff. This guy, Stephen Gallagher, is showing love for the show and love for Peter Capaldi, and that's something that is missing from Doctor Who fandom at this point in time because of the disastrous Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker run. Now, I do not believe Russell T Davies will be able to come back and redeem the franchise that was destroyed by Chris Chibnall, but there's always the slim possibility. So because I do not believe the 60th anniversary at the end of this year will redeem the franchise, I wanted to highlight Stephen Gallagher saying something positive about a Doctor and pointing out something that we all need to remember sometimes is the problem started sooner than even Chris Chibnall, which is strange to say. The root of the problem was BBC and wokeness, and that became prevalent in 2016 across the board for many of these franchises. We just need to remember that, remember some positivity, remember that issues began long before Jodie Whittaker took over the role, and Stephen Gallagher is a GOAT, and I would love to see him writing Doctor Who again in the mainline series, if of course we were in a perfect world. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon.
Hey, yo, are you feeling what I'm doing up in here? Oh, I know you are. Do you miss all the good, compelling stories that we used to get back in Hollywood that they ain't putting down no more? Oh, I know you missing it. So check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues, baby. Book 1, Down in Flames. Book 2, Apocalypse Then. These are currently on sale. What are you waiting for? Get your hands on them. And we got Book 3, Kill the Dark, is coming down the pipeline. Just wait for all the good stuff that's dropping. You ain't gonna be disappointed, fam.